Welcome to FinTech Focus TV. I'm Toby and I'm delighted to be joined today by Steve Hughes. Steve, thanks for coming on.
No problem. Good day.
How are you? You well?
Yeah, I'm good. Really
Excellent.
well.
Listen, lots of exciting stuff going on for you at the moment. So can you tell us a little bit about your background and all about the company?
Cool. So for me, I've been in the industry for 38 years. And I know that because I had to calculate it yesterday for somebody. And during that time, I've been in management positions for all but the first 5.
Yeah.
So always in software companies, typically working for American software companies, which is a good segue into Aspect.
Yeah.
So Aspect is an American company. We were founded in 2000 as a company called Oil Space.
Yeah.
But it got difficult to sell a product called Oil Watch, for example, from a company called Oil Space to a metals trader.
Yeah.
So we changed the name some years ago. But in essence, we are a commodity trading and risk management solution company. We essentially have 2 products, Aspect C2RM, which is commodity trading and risk management, and the other one is Aspect DSC, standing for Decision Support System, which basically takes real-time market data from anywhere in the world and provides a platform for traders to make intelligent decisions about the trading they're going to do. That then gets captured in the C2RM system, and that manages it from cradle to grave, right through the whole supply chain. Where we're different is basically we are cloud and nobody else is.
Mm-hmm.
They will claim to be, but they're not. We've just released a video called Fake Cloud for that reason.
Topical.
Topical. So we're a true cloud company. We have been since day one. We didn't have some legacy asset that we had to move onto the cloud. We've been in the cloud since day one. And what has happened basically is the world is now caught up with what cloud means and what it can do.
Yeah, it's taken a few years.
And that's really put us in a leadership position in our own space. So, we're very pleased that the world's caught up at last.
Yeah, well, it's been that adoption process, isn't it, where people have been waiting to really harness the sort of confidence, I think, as much as anything with cloud
But now
technology.
my 85-year-old mum knows what cloud is.
There you go, eureka moments for you. So it's been an exciting journey for you over at Aspect, and a lot's changed. I've been there where you've won awards and picked up mass recognition. You've spoken to me about how many countries that you guys are operating in and selling into at the moment. What's been the most satisfying moment for you in the evolution of the business?
Right, that's really difficult to say in a sense. When I joined the business in 2005, at that point it was 5 years old, but it was set up to do something very different to what we actually do today. Long story short, that first proposition didn't work very well. Yeah. And I was brought in at a time where the company was running at roughly $6 million, but we were losing nearly $2 million a year. And I joined it because I'd never turned something round that was so clearly heading for a cliff. So one of the very satisfying moments was when we got through the first 2 or 3 years of that, and we had a company that was now profitable, cash flow positive, no debt, and to a point where it could actually start operating as a normal company and not worried about tomorrow's payroll. So that was an incredibly satisfying moment.
Yeah.
And we've been like that now for some many years. Today we're way bigger than that. We've got about a third less people than we had back then.
Yeah.
Chewing up all that money. We've got 2 market leading products. We are known as a market leader, so a tremendous transition. And I guess the other leading to the second point of great excitement was in the last 2 or 3 years we've won, as you mentioned earlier, many awards that basically say we are where we are, which is as a market leader. And again, that's tremendously satisfying. So I would put those 2 things as key. The other thing is, during that transition, seeing a team that many of whom have stayed for all that time transform themselves. We've got an amazing team at Aspect. It gets better every day, and today we've got the best team we ever had. Yeah. So that's another really key point for me in Aspect's history.
I love hearing about that sort of stuff. I don't think leaders talk enough about the whole pride in actually seeing people develop through a business, but to me there's no better thing than actually seeing someone there who's struggled at a certain stage come through and really improve and find that absolute flow of where they deserve to be. So that's lovely to hear. You mentioned and intimated there as well about the tougher times at the start. What sort of challenges have you been through within this whole journey as well?
Well, I guess I've mentioned some of them. So, you know, it was tough back in 2005. It was, even when we got through that, it was tough kind of getting recognition. And that's just down to damned hard work, particularly by our marketing team. But we're now in that position. I guess the other thing is, you know, we do have clients in 87 countries.
Yeah.
So that brings a challenge of, you know, can you actually do business against all those different cultures, languages, ways of thinking, and so on? And that's been quite a challenge. But it's something we would consider ourselves expert in that.
Yeah.
We really do know how to do business internationally.
Yeah.
The other challenge has been on the people side. When you go from a kind of young software company that's got great potential but certainly hasn't reached it, is coaching people through that process. Now, I'm fortunate in that prior to Aspect, I was in a number of situations like this.
Yeah.
And when my children used to ask, what do you do for a living? I used to say, I talk to people.
Yeah.
And I see my job not as chief executive officer, I see my job as chief coach.
Yeah.
So, and that can be both positive and negative. You know, I always tell people, I will tell them when they've screwed up, and we will talk about it there and then, not in anger or in under pressure.
Just with
but
candor.
we talk about it to make sure that we can both improve. And by the way, I do that 360. So
yeah.
I always say you can come in my office at any time and tell me where I'm going wrong. I guarantee you won't get fired.
Yeah.
But I won't necessarily agree with you. But we will discuss
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So it's that whole process of bringing a team through that process and seeing how that's evolved over time. So that was quite a challenge, but something I really enjoy. The other one was in 2016, we transitioned roughly 60% of our employees from Russia to India.
Okay.
So we did develop all of our product in Russia for many, many years, certainly all the time I've been there. And last year we moved to India. We've still got a Russian team, but smaller. But we've now got maybe 55 people in Bengaluru in India.
Yeah.
And that was a hell of a challenge.
Yeah.
We're through that now. So
There's some really interesting stuff going on in India. The quality out there, whilst it's had some bad press, I think is actually, if you get it right, there's a huge opportunity to get some access to some great people.
Indeed.
And really grow and scale quickly with it as well.
Yeah, and I think the thing on that one is India, in a sense, is no different to anywhere else.
Yeah.
You can get bad quality development in this country or America, or you can get good quality. So we were incredibly diligent about the process of choosing the right partner.
Yeah.
And in fact, we chose a company called Avanade, which is 50% owned by Accenture and 50% owned by Microsoft. So the credentials are good.
Yeah.
But their processes are absolutely world class, and that's what we bought into. So
that due diligence, I think, is often overlooked. It's not the cheap fix of going out there and let's get out there to save cost, as opposed to really look at how we can improve.
And strangely, cost was not on the list of drivers to move.
Yeah.
So we don't spend any less than we did.
Yeah.
We want better productivity and better quality than we had before.
Yeah.
For the same amount.
The proper drivers are where a decision like that should be made.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So we talk about 2017 now. And it's a for some people it's a huge opportunity. For some people it's a big risk. We're not quite sure what's going on with Brexit. What do you see happening in the market in 2017?
Well, look, I think Brexit's going to have. Obviously, it's had an immediate economic effect. So in Aspect's terms, because we're an American company, it's made our UK payroll a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
So from that side, it's been a very positive thing.
Yeah.
But put that to one side. I think economically things will balance out. They always do. It just takes time. I think Brexit was such a shock to everybody that nobody was prepared to do it.
Yeah.
Prepared for if it did happen.
Yeah.
Us included.
Yeah.
The difference with Aspect is doing business in 87 countries and operating in the US dollar means we're pretty well hedged against any of those kind of political risks and what they might mean. I think it's going to have tremendous social impact more than an economic impact in the long term.
Agreed.
And time will tell what the result of that is.
Yeah. And in the market in general, what do you see happening, taking Brexit out of it in I guess the trading technology world as a whole?
Okay, in the trading technology world, I think people often say, why we've been successful during great economic flux and a global downturn. And there's two drivers really. One is when the price of a barrel of oil is very low, you really do have to look at margin. Yeah. And even if you look at the largest trading companies in the world, they're operating on 2, 3, maybe 4% margin. That's a tightrope.
Yeah.
So the trick, and traders hate me saying this, the trick is not to make a profit from a trade, because it's not that difficult to make a profit. The trick is to make the optimal profit you can. And with that, you need systems. So I think as margins have got crushed, you can't do that with spreadsheets. So people are looking for solutions. Historically, the two or three market leaders in this area, historic market leaders, would cost many millions of dollars and take many months, if not years, to implement. And by the time they're finished, the market's moved on.
Yeah.
In our case, we do it at a fraction of the cost of the competitors historically, and we do it incredibly quickly. So that means we're attracting a lot of people that never had a trading and risk system before.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing right now is something is happening that we predicted would happen. Now, when you take the world's largest trading companies, and I won't mention who they are, but if you take those guys, walking that tightrope has got more and more difficult. Now, none of them are going to take what they've got, wall-to-wall commodity trading and risk management, such as Open Link and Triple Point. Nobody's going to take that and replace the whole thing. But what we thought would happen is desk by desk, economics would start to have a play. The fact that compliance is a big thing, so spreadsheets, forget them.
Yeah.
And that's played very much into our hands. So what we found now is in 2016 and going on this year, we've attracted 4 of the biggest trading companies in the world. Now, we're not replacing them wall to wall, but we are replacing this desk and that desk and that desk and that desk. Because, again, we do it over a matter of weeks, and we do it as a fraction of the cost of other products. In fact, many people have justified buying Aspect solution simply for the cost of maintenance of one of the established 800-pound gorillas in our market. So 2017 for us is incredibly good. As you know, this week is IP week. I just showed my diary to somebody at work who wanted to know how many appointments we had this week. It's phenomenal. We are seeing dozens and dozens of people this week that are interested in this tech. Many of whom couldn't afford it before, but now can. Many of whom have had it for years, but are looking for the next wave. And we are very much the next wave.
It's definitely a more fragmented marketplace, isn't it, than traditional, particularly in the commodity space, I think, as much as anywhere else as well. So exciting opportunities for businesses, I think, innovate and look to provide different solutions, which is great for you guys.
Yeah, very good.
You mentioned as well your experience. It's 33 years in leadership within
38.
this space. Within leadership.
Oh, with leadership. You're right. 33.
I'm just doing some simple
maths. Sorry, carry on.
So, which gives you a brilliant opportunity to help people within the marketplace, and that's what we love doing as well, to give people some advice to move their businesses better. If you're in a tech startup position at the moment, what sort of advice would you be able to pass down?
Right, I guess this is probably my 6th project of this type. So I've been around this block a few times. I think the main thing when you establish is the word focus. If you take Aspect, it did and it still does live in a tremendously opportunity-rich market. Where we go tomorrow is really exciting. And as I say to all of our salespeople when they whinge about their quotas, the day you can touch the sides of your universe is the day I'll change your quota. But actually, we've got huge opportunity. And that's true for most startups. The reason they start up, the reason they get established is because they see an opportunity that maybe others didn't. So in that world, the main thing to do is to focus and dominate one sector.
Absolutely.
So stay focused on it. Yes, all these other things are going to present themselves and go, there's another opportunity. I promise you, if you spread that too thin, you are almost certainly going to fail.
Yeah.
Unless you've got this thing called lady luck with you.
Yeah.
Nobody should rely on luck. So the first thing I would say, focus.
Yeah.
The second thing is passion. I spoke to our chairman on Friday, and I won't tell you what the topic was, but I quoted to him something Confucius said, and he said, find a job you love and you'll never work another day in your life.
Great quote.
And I don't work for a living.
Yeah.
I once put that up on a slide for the staff and they all laughed, of course. We knew it was true.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, the second thing is passion. Often startups start because they are passionate about it. It's in a sense, it's easy to be passionate. It's easy to fall in love.
Yeah.
It's difficult to stay in love, and you have to work at it, and you have to make sure that that passion transmits, not just to customers but to staff as well.
Yeah.
So, ignoring the things like you've got to have a great idea that sees a market gap and so on. I think those are the two key things that people need to look after. Then it becomes operational. Make sure your cash flows. It's cash flow that kills companies, not P&L.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's all those usual things that you can read in any textbook.
Yeah.
But I think the softer things are way more important in a sense.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think the focus piece is so often people looking for quick wins and saying, we could do this and we could do this, and ruining their businesses because the arrowhead is so vital at the start of a business. And passion is an interesting one for me because there are, in our space and the fintech space in general, I guess, there's a lot of very passionate people and very passionate technologists, and I think what they've got to do is make sure that their passion doesn't overkill by the same rationale the business plan behind it. And it's quite often we see people there who are trying to solve problems which don't necessarily exist for a client, or they aren't the problems which really matter. So I think that passion has to be aligned with something there which has some real business and sales strategy behind it as well. But it's exciting. Yeah, it's a very interesting play in terms of where it comes through. In terms of challenges this year for startup businesses, what would you say that the challenges that people will have in that startup world?
So I don't think the challenges for a startup have essentially changed. I think it's the same in 2017 as it was in 2007, and will be the same in 2027.
Yeah.
I think that the difference is the ideas that are going to make it today are different to the ideas that made it 20 years ago and the ideas that will make it in 20 years' time. I guess where things are changing is when you look at the number of ideas that are coming through, and the number of ideas that, I subscribe to a number of things that show me what's coming along, crowdfunding stuff and so on, because I'm very interested in investing time and money in those things. I am wowed almost every day with the ideas that people have come up with, and the variety of those and the depth of them. And I think one of the challenges for any startup going forward is it's going to get tougher to come up with that one thing that spots a gap, because almost everything you look at now, often somebody's done it. So a lot of people come to me because of my experience and lean on me for advice and market ideas. Maybe they come with them, but I too often have to say, well, it's a great idea, maybe you should talk to these guys because they're doing it already. So I think for new entrepreneurs, it's getting tougher in how do you find that new idea that's truly new and does actually address a need and spot an opportunity. So I think that's getting tougher. But I think the principles of how you operate a startup are still the same. Be passionate about it. Don't ever forget why you did this, and stay focused on the goal.
You mentioned actually about spending more. I read an article this morning about tech companies spending a lot more than they actually get in, and I think there was one company mentioned who said they may never be profitable. What's your take on that sort of thing as a man who's very clearly
that's
P&L oriented?
Yeah, that's really interesting because that's pretty alien from my background. But it is true in that there's a lot of private equity firms out there right now that focus specifically on pre-revenue and certainly pre-profit corporations. Because some of those bright ideas cost a lot of capital to get them off the ground. but they're truly bright ideas. So I've never ever operated in that space. I've always operated in a space that goes, we may not be making profit now, we know how we will, and we know how that may attract potential buyers or potential new investors. But that's a really interesting one in that, when you look at some of those things that started years ago, like Snapchat and Facebook and go on, and there's no revenue, but now they're worth many billions of dollars.
It's always been a head scratcher.
It's astonishing. That must be a hell of a pitch.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's something to work on. I'll finish up with one last piece for you. So, you've mentioned before that you've been involved with 6 of these sort of ventures in the past, and there'll be companies out there who are getting to the stage of when do they actually, there's companies who sell at the wrong time, and there's companies absolutely who sell at the right time. How do you know when the right time for a business to sell would be? Right,
there's a whole industry built around when's the right time, and to a large degree, it is up to the company in that many people are in this, startup companies because they are passionate about it. I guess the other thing I should say about passion is you've got to temper that with some common sense, in that you can hold on to a business too long if what you're interested in is enterprise value. Just like a good bottle of wine, they peak and then you're over the peak and it's not as good as it used to be. And that's true with any business. So I think the day you found a company and the day you start that idea, you should be thinking about how and when do we exit?
Yeah.
And what does exit mean? Because many companies go, an exit is we find an investor to truly expand globally. That's one exit. And they're doing that because they want to grow it, on a global basis maybe. The other type of exit, which is probably the one I'm getting closer to, is, I'm turned 60 last year. So,
never.
Yeah,
never.
Thank you, but yes. So, the type of exit I'll be looking for in 10 years is one that really gets rid of the asset, if you will. So I would say plan for exit from day one.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you've got to say in 3 years' time we'll do it, but you've got to understand how you will get to an exit and what buyers are looking for to make you attractive.
Yeah. And
in fact, Aspect has worked extremely hard to make the company attractive to potential investors.
Yeah.
And the reason is we want to go to the next level, and that involves us acquiring companies. Now we can't do that from cash.
Yeah.
We need somebody else's money. So we've spent a lot of time profiling ourselves to make sure that we're an attractive proposition. And I'm pleased to say that right now we've always had interest from private equity firms. In Q4 of 2016 and continuing now, that interest is massive. And that's partly because of where we positioned ourselves, and it's partly because private equity firms have got a mountain of money and nowhere to place it at the minute. So they're looking for good homes. So it's about making your company a good home. Think about it all the time, but don't think you have to sell. If you are passionate and you do the right things and you start to gain some traction, people will notice you and people will come to you with ideas. That doesn't mean you sit back and wait for an investment. I think it's right to do both things. I have a plan to do this, but somebody may come in the interim if you're looking really attractive. So
what can some of those things be to make yourself attractive to sell?
Right. So there's 2 things really. I think the main one is high revenue growth. Forget the profit for a while, because again, as with Aspect, we are profitable, but our profits are wafer thin, and that's deliberate. And the reason it's deliberate is we are ploughing lots of sales and marketing money as investment cash to grow the business on the top line. So if you take our increase in bookings, and we mention bookings only because we're a cloud company, so we amortize any software booking over the lifetime of that contract. If you're a traditional firm, if it was $1 million and we closed it on the 31st of December 2016, and it was a 3-year contract for us, In 2016, we would recognise, I think it's $913, because that's one day's worth of $1 million over 3 years. If I was one of the traditional companies, I would recognise $1 million in that year. So you can't compare revenue growth with a traditional software company with a cloud company. What you can compare is our bookings or the contract values for software against a traditional company. So I mention all that because in the last 2 years we've grown by roughly 70 to 100% each year in bookings terms. That's only happened as a result of us cutting margins to as thin as we can get them while still looking after cash flow. You know, we're still cash flow very stable, cash flow positive, but you have to watch that. That's the killer. So we've invested all back in the business, in sales and marketing, and hence now we've grown. So I think top line growth is a big attraction. Profit less so, but if you're a mature business, you do need a balance between the two.
Yeah.
And we are headed for a period in about 3 years' time where we'll reach what I would call industry standard profitability measurements. Today, we do care about profit in that we've got to pay the bills, but we don't care about it in terms of, hey, look how big our profit is. We're putting all that straight back into the business. And I think that's what makes you kind of attractive to private equity firms and strategic buyers. Along with the thing called market position.
Yeah.
You know, how much noise are you making in the market right now? And in the last year, Aspect's reached a point where it is now a natural candidate. If somebody's looking for a trading and risk system, we would naturally be on the list of 5.
Yeah.
And you probably guess who the other 4 are.
Yeah.
But we never had that privilege before. That means that private equity firms, you know, and other strategic buyers are incredibly interested in what we're doing and why we're doing it and why we're stealing business from the competition and why we're growing in markets that didn't exist yesterday. They do exist. They're called spreadsheets, and we're replacing spreadsheets all the time now.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's wonderful to hear the business is going so well, and you can absolutely see why. Thanks so much for talking to us today and for coming in and sharing your wealth of knowledge. And we'll definitely look forward to catching up with you again soon.
No problem.
Thanks to all for watching. We'll see you on the next episode of FinTech Focus TV. Cheers. Steve, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Cheers.